It was a cold November day when I started my seasonal job at the mall. I had never before performed janitorial or housekeeping services, but it didn't seem to be too difficult. After all, I'd been cleaning 24/7 for the past decade since my dear sweet ex-boyfriend refused to lift a finger around the house. So how hard could it have been, really? I got my uniform and my assigned locker and my cart of supplies first thing. Training didn't seem to be in the budget, as I was just sent off to do my own thing right away. And as I walked around pushing that cart, randomly mopping and sweeping messes, I saw the beautiful holiday decorations of all the stores through their large display windows. Everything was sparkling and glowing, and all the couples were walking about holding hands, smiling brightly. Children were laughing, and heartwarming Christmas music was playing everywhere, and it was all just so sickening. But it was better than running away in that lonely apartment. Long before I'd decided to leave, my ex hadn't touched or kissed me in years. It felt as if he just viewed me as a roommate, like even speaking with me was a chore. And he was making love to everyone else except for the one he supposedly was in love with. But I kept holding on to the memory of the magic that had faded between us, to the dream that could have been, until I just could no longer bear the pain. I had a degree in creative writing, but I was never able to find a publisher for my countless manuscripts. My every literary agent had given up on me, and self-publishing just wasn't paying the bills, so I had to resort to cleaning toilets in a mall. Could have been worse, I suppose. The first week went by pretty fast and easy, even though every time I heard Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You, I found myself fantasizing about blowing my own brains out. Most of my job took place after hours when the stores were closed, the lights were off, and the customers had long been gone. It was eerie there at night, all alone in that darkness. My footsteps echoed. I could always catch a fleeting glimpse of a rat as it scurried off into the shadows, and I always felt as if I were being watched. When I worked late, I had the pleasure of meeting some other seasonal employees from the clothing department stores around me. Like me, they had all been hired on just before the Black Friday chaos, but were all but children compared to me. A chubby, balding, scruffy, failed writer in his mid-30s. Each of those adorable little munchkins were in their early 20s or younger, bright-eyed and free, with the world just opening up to them. Oh, how my bitter heart urged me to warn them of the useless degrees they were studying for, how the economy was going to just worsen over time, how their parents were all going to die eventually, and the loves of their lives that would inevitably betray them. Alas, I decided to let them have some surprises. "Oh, I just can't wait until Christmas," one particularly annoying blonde tart squealed, looking through one of the shop windows at their holiday display. I scoffed and rolled my eyes. "Why? It's just another capitalist ploy to get you to spend money," I groaned, mopping up some brat's vomit beside her. "You think companies give a crap about us? The only reason this mall would care if we dropped dead right now is the fact that we wouldn't be making them money anymore. It's all bullshit." She looked at me as if I were a monster. "Wow, Noelle," she whispered, slowly shaking her head. "Working with you really is a treat, you know." I grinned, wickedly, mischievously, like the Grinch. "It's beginning to look a lot like fuck this," I sang, walking away from her. When December came, I had to help set up a disgusting North Pole photography display for a Santa performer. It had a massive and ornate Christmas-themed throne for him to sit upon, and a winding path lined with giant wrapped presents leading up to it. Fully decorated trees made the area look like a holiday forest. There were giant candy canes, snowmen, and reindeer everywhere, and fake snow covered the entirety of the shimmering floor around it all. It was all so sickeningly bright and cheery that it immediately reminded me of the Christmases I had shared with my parents as a child. They always went crazy with decorations during the holidays, but Christmas was their absolute favorite. Somehow they always turned our yard into the North Pole and the inside of our house into Santa's workshop, and each year they absolutely spoiled me with presents. But on my 16th birthday we got into a huge fight. There was a new video game system out, and it was truly all I wanted. But it was so expensive they just could not afford it, and I was such a brat about it I didn't speak to them for months, stewing in my own rage and bitterness. I even ate Thanksgiving dinner alone in my bedroom. Black Friday came around, and they went to take advantage of the sales in hopes of making up for my birthday by giving me a good Christmas again that year. They never came home. But in the back of that mess of blood and metal of a car was the very video game system that I'd screamed and cried for. I'd wanted it so much, and I would never play it, because I would have rather had them back. It was my fault my parents were gone, and I hadn't celebrated Christmas since. Thankfully, the only holiday my ex ever liked was Halloween. He called it gay Christmas, but only celebrated it by wearing jock straps and leather harnesses, getting drunk at the club, and turning tricks for treats. Some of the other mall staff had to perform as elves to control the line of rambunctious kids, as they screamed and shrieked like the monsters they were. I thanked every god I'd ever heard of that I didn't have to wear those stupid green tights or deal with those little imps. Spoiled little demons. The day Santa Claus finally debuted, I was scheduled to work the night shift. As usual, I showed up a bit early to walk around the mall and see which areas needed the most attention. However, I instantly became distracted by the performer. Actually, it was more like enchanted. He was a bit younger than I had expected him to be, and his neatly trimmed white beard was all his own and a lot shorter than they usually were. His mustache curled on the ends, but was small enough so that I could see his thick, kissable lips as he smiled over at me every few moments. With round glasses over his brilliant blue eyes, a traditional red Santa suit, olive Mediterranean skin, and short white curls peeking out from under the hat and onto his forehead, he was quite handsome. Like me and the old song that described him, he had a jiggly tummy. But he also had massively muscular biceps, forearms, thighs, and calves, and his pierced lobes were silver snowflake stud earrings, and around his thick neck was a chain that featured a matching charm. In truth, it was the first time I'd really taken notice of a man in years. I had thought that my heart had blackened and my manhood had broken, but apparently I was wrong, because this man was taking my breath away as if I were some hormone-crazed teenager. Before I knew it, the mall was closing. The elf performers pulled the final child up along the path and had her sit upon Santa's lap. She whispered to him what she wanted for Christmas, and he promised her if she was good, she would get it. Her mother then took a photograph of them, and the family went on their way. It was then, as the exhausted and exasperated elf performers walked away, that Santa shot a smirk over to me. "You've been pretending to sweep that same spot for an hour now," he stated between hearty chuckles, his voice deep and masculine. Notably, he had an enchanting accent that I could not quite place. "Do you want to come sit on my lap?" I blushed instantaneously. Awkwardly looking around, I saw all the surrounding stores closing up for the evening. The white fluorescent lights above us began to turn off one by one, leaving only the multicolored Christmas lights of his North Pole display. Gulping, I turned back to him. "I mean, we can talk," I managed, placing my broom back onto my cart of cleaning supplies, "if you want." He laughed in that traditional ho-ho-ho manner, as if we were in some cheesy special on the Hallmark Channel. "Very well, then," he bellowed, patting his thick, meaty thigh. "Come sit on Santa's lap and tell him what you want for Christmas, young man." Arching my brows, I walked down the path between the stacks of beautifully wrapped presents. When I approached, I began to speak in a nervous, breaking voice. "My name is Noel," he interrupted, holding his gloved hand up. They were black leather, matching his boots and belt. His red jacket, hat, and pants looked to be made of crushed velvet, with beautiful designs weaved throughout. Their insides seemed to be lined in white fur. Like the elves, he had pointed ear prosthetics, though his looked far more realistic. I scoffed, thinking of my coworkers. "What did your little elves tell you?" He arched his white eyebrows as his smile faded. "They also told me that you hate Christmas, which, coupled with your name, they found to be hilarious." He explained, his ocean eyes full of concern. "They refer to you as the gay Grinch among themselves, and say 'Bah, humbug' to each other when you turn around and walk away from them. They also talk about your weight and your thinning hair. It should come as no surprise to you that every single one of those brats is on the naughty list." Raising my brows, I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. "That's fine," I grumbled, turning around. My anger was a fire inside of me. When I heard those words, I was that same little boy back in elementary school, crying because his classmates were making fun of him. I come here to get a paycheck, not to make friends. Just when I went to walk away, however, he stood up and grabbed my hand, stopping me. "Wait," he said, sounding almost wounded. "You didn't tell me what you wanted for Christmas." I froze in place. Staring downward, I realized just how lonely I had been. "I want love," I whispered breathlessly. "Romance, passion. I want to feel like I'm the most important thing in the world to someone. I want to feel like I fit, like I belong with them. I want something real for once." He took a breath and released my hand. "Well, love comes with time," he began, sounding concerned. "It cannot be rushed or forced. It has to bloom naturally, like a flower in the spring, just after the melting of the winter's final snow." Turning back around, I felt heat in my face as it undoubtedly turned bright red. Seeing his sparkling eyes did not ease my embarrassment. Why did I say that? I wondered. God, I'm so stupid. "The best I can do right now is," he continued, arching his thick brows, "take you out for a drink when you get off work. If you'll have me. Seems like you could use one, and we seasonals need to support each other." My face must have lit up like a kid's on Christmas because I smiled wider than I had in a very long time. Really? I'll be out in the parking lot waiting on you. You're off at midnight, right? I nodded. Yeah, I'm so excited, I stated, already awkwardly walking away. After a few steps, I turned back around, however. Oh, wait, what's your name? He grinned again, his rosy cheeks glowing. Nicholas, but you may call me Nick. I laughed, not really thinking of anything else other than the fact that I had a date for the first time in about a decade. All right, Nick, I explained, walking backwards to the path between the presents. I'll see you at midnight. And just like that, I was walking on air. I skipped off to get my night started, but my thoughts never left him. Dancing to my rock and roll as it blared through my cell phone, I cleaned, swept, wiped, and mopped for hours, as I usually did, but this time I did it all with a smile, a genuine one. After clocking out, I exited the mall through the employees' way, which came out into a little alley. I saw the two dumpsters there to the right and my shitty little rust bucket of a car, which was parked on the opposite side. But between them was a red motorcycle and the silhouette of a muscular man leaning against it. Nick? I questioned, stepping into the night. He stepped forward, allowing the street light to illuminate his entirety. Now in a red leather jacket, he wore a white t-shirt beneath, a pair of baggy black denim jeans that were shredded at the knees, and lace-up leather combat boots. Those beautiful pristine curls were uncovered, allowing me to see that his head was shaved on the sides and back. You ever rode one of these? He asked, tossing his black and red helmet to me. Somehow I caught it. No, I admitted, putting the helmet on and walking toward him. He nodded. Don't be scared of it, he demanded, throwing his thick, muscly leg over the bike. Lean on me and hold me tight. All right? As he twisted the key in the ignition, the engine roared. With hands wrapped in fingerless leather gloves, he gripped the handlebars and leaned forward on the bike. He then quietly awaited for me to join him. Nervously, I did just that. Holding him tightly, I could feel his stomach through his thin white t-shirt beneath his unzipped jacket. His cologne smelled of tobacco and pine, intoxicating, and he drove the motorcycle out of the alleyway and into the parking lot. My heart raced as I pressed my chest against his back, shielding my face from the chill in the air. He took us to a gay bar called The Bare Necessities. This was my first time attending one. After gaining weight during my stressful relationship, I was far too self-conscious to go out anywhere, and before that I was a proud twink and mostly went to drag shows when I went out. Surprisingly, they played hard rock instead of electropop, techno, and dance remixes of the current top 10 pop girly singles I was used to playing at bars and clubs. The burly, stocky, hairy dancers were clad in leather, strutting in metal cages that hung from the ceiling. Red lights randomly flashed to the harsh drums, but the entire place was altogether dim and dark. Glittery garland was wrapped around the bar, and a Christmas tree dripping in bear-themed decorations stood in the corner beside it. We sat at the bar, and the bartender greeted him like an old friend. Nick ordered a peppermint schnapps, and I got some whiskey. As we awaited our drinks, he turned to me and leaned in to speak directly into my ear so that I could hear him over the loud music. So, why is it a man named Noel has grown to hate Christmas? I chuckled. My grandma got run over by a reindeer, alright? I'm really sensitive about it. He rolled his eyes. That song never gets old. I shook my head. It's a long story, honestly, I replied. Why do you love it so much that you became a mall Santa? It was then that the half-naked bartender reappeared with our drinks. I took mine into my hand and took a sip, as Nick did the same beside me. It's just a seasonal gig. Leaves the rest of the year wide open for me, but I guess I still do it for the kids. I love kids, always have, and Christmas is the most magical time of the year for them, he explained, setting the glass down, the ice cubes clinking within it. I always wanted some children of my own, but my wife passed away before we could try. I touched my free hand to my chest in dark surprise. I'm so sorry, I said, reaching over and caressing his shoulder with it. How long has she been gone? Too long, but let's speak of happier things. Like what? Well, you hate kids, you hate Christmas. It may be a bit difficult for you to do that now that I think about it. He said this with a sly smirk. He was flirting. I laughed but shook my head. I don't hate kids, I retorted. Not all of them anyway, just the spoiled ones that scream when they don't get their way. Ah, but that is the parents' fault. Don't blame the children. They don't know any better because their parents aren't teaching them. I took a deep breath and faced forward. In taking another sip of my whiskey, I gathered my strength. With a nervous, broken, shaky voice, I explained to him what had happened to my parents and why I didn't like the holidays. Instead of speaking, he wrapped his warm, muscular arms around me and held me tightly. His scent intoxicated me yet again as I hugged him back. Tears filled my eyes at that point because I realized that this was the first time anyone had held me in response to telling them about my past. This isn't your fault, he finally said, sitting back down. It is, though. I was a brat. You were a teenager. All teenagers were brats. I smiled at this and lost myself in thought. Gently swinging my glass around in my hand so that the whiskey would roll around the ice within it, I took a breath. So you had a wife. Does that mean you're straight then? No. I'm not really attracted to people based on their gender. It's more of a spiritual thing. I leaned in closer to him. Are you attracted to me? He smirked. Very much so. I blushed immediately. I'm really attracted to you too, I managed. Does that make this a date? Only if you want it to be. I giggled like a schoolgirl. I do. He raised a single brow as he turned back to me. Reaching up, he ran his fingers through my thinning hair. We need to fix this, though, he said, focusing on my severely receding hairline. His crystalline eyes then met my confused gaze. Is it too soon to invite you back to my place? My eyes widened in shock and my heart started pounding against my chest as if it were trying to break free. Nervously, almost trembling in trepidation, I shook my head. No, not if you're comfortable with it, he chuckled. I am. We finished our drinks and he drove me back to his very fancy apartment. It was fully decked out in Christmas decor with different themes in every room, each having a tree of their own. The classy foyer was golden, the spacious kitchen was blue and silver, and the homey living room was a traditional red and green. His passion for the holiday instantly reminded me of my parents, but surprisingly, I wasn't disgusted or saddened or bitter. I was enchanted. My ex and I lived in a trailer on the outskirts of our small southern town. After we broke up, I let him keep just about everything, including it, even though I'd pay for it all. He had apparently sold my collection of action figures, which I had been adding to since I was a child, which broke my heart all over again, and all of my copies of the books I self-published were probably burned in a bonfire. I had moved back in with my grandmother, who, while sweet and incredibly supportive, had a terrible hoarding problem. Without a room to call my own, I slept on a couch in a living room filled with mountains of beautiful garbage, so showing Nick where I lived was definitely out of the question. With an inviting grin, he took my hands into his own and pulled me into the bathroom. Like the kitchen, it was decorated with silver garland and blue lights all around the walls and the doorframe. He stood me in front of the large, ornate silver antique mirror which featured the baby faces of cherubs on top, framed in wings, then gently pulled off my uniform shirt. Instantly I blushed and hid my stretch-marked, streaked stomach in my hands. It was bulbous. I felt as if I looked like a hairy, pregnant man. Seeing this, he arched his brows and shook his head. In response, he removed his leather jacket and pulled off his own shirt, revealing that he was covered in tattoos. Stepping closer to me, he pressed his hairy stomach and chest against my own. Placing his forehead to mine, he wrapped his muscular arms around me. You're beautiful, he whispered. Gulping, I closed my eyes, eased in, and gently pressed my lips to his. He kissed me back, letting his curious hands explore my naked back in soft caresses. Parting our lips, we tasted one another, his flavor that of peppermint. All right, he said, pulling back, let's get started. He then grabbed an electric razor from the sink. With a smile, he switched it on and immediately placed it to my head. Clumps of my hair started falling out all around me like snowflakes. Now don't get me wrong, you're sexy already, he began excitedly shaving my head. You just need to take better care of yourself. Once this was done, he set the machine down and revealed a can of shaving cream. He popped the lid and sprayed some into the palm of his left hand. After putting it back, he rubbed his hands together and began to gently, lovingly massage it into my scalp. Once he was satisfied, he retrieved a hand razor and began to shave my head down to the skin. Oh yeah, he growled, stepping back and looking me over. Almost done. He returned the hand razor and took a hold of the electric one once again. This time, however, he went in on my facial hair. After neatly trimming it to little more than a thick scruff and shaping it up, he put some beard oil in it and ran his fingers through it. Stepping back once more, he bit his lower lip. He groaned in approval. I was gonna tell you to take a shower, but now I kinda want to join you. Smiling, I looked myself in the mirror. Even though I had clumps of hair on my shoulders, lines of shaving cream on my bald head, and my hideous stomach was out in full display, I felt sexy. I felt beautiful. Well, we can shower together if you want to, I offered anxiously, turning back around to face him. We did, and in doing so, we made love for the first time, and the second time as we took turns topping one another. His thick, hairy, tattooed body was perfect and delectable. Intimately bathing one another, we talked more, about anything and everything, and after that we slept together in his burgundy canopy bed, wrapped warmly in each other's arms. Our next date we went shopping, and after about an hour of him convincing me, I let him buy me a ton of new clothes. These outfits included leather jackets, boots, button-up dress shirts, and more. He said he wanted to do this so he could show me off at the bar, which he did. In fact, every day, as soon as I got off work, he'd take me there. We would have drinks and dance and laugh and talk for hours, and after that we would always go back to his place, make sweet love, and fall asleep holding one another. One night, within the afterglow of passion, we were lying together in his bed, naked, sweating and spent, and he turned to me and told me that he had a confession to make. What is it? I asked concernedly. My mind flashed back to the countless times my ex had cheated on me, lied to me, gaslighted me. He let out a sigh and turned to his nightstand to the right. He turned on the lamp that rested upon it, then opened its drawer. Revealing a weathered book, he smiled awkwardly. It took me a moment to recognize the art of the discarded knight's armor on the cover through the dim light, but the title, Silent Night, on top and my name on the bottom left no room for confusion. It was indeed my own. The last book I self-published, which was years prior, a queer fairy tale about a prince and his guardian knight abandoning their religious crusades and fighting their homophobia to be together. My brows furrowed in confusion. You've read my books? He nodded solemnly. This one is my favorite. A half-smile appeared upon my face, but I let out a sigh of defeat as I looked away. I wrote all those gay romantasy novels as a sort of escape, I admitted. I created the love I longed for, the romance I needed, the passion I craved, because, well, I've never really had it. Laying the book down onto his lap, he reached over and touched my hand. I'd like to give you the love you truly deserve. I looked at him in surprise. Easing in, I kissed him slowly, delicately, passionately. He pulled me into a loving embrace, and we made love for a third time that night. After that, he shared with me his hobby, and it surprised me greatly. He whittled. Like those old cowboys, he'd take a piece of wood and carve something out of it with a pocket knife, an entire room filled with little wooden animals and mythological creatures. He was quite skilled at it. I could not find a single imperfection in any of them. With this talent, he made me little figures of the characters from my novel that he loved so much. The wooden prince and his knight were perfect. Somehow he had completely captured their likeness. It was breathtaking. No one had ever done anything like that for me. I loved them so much I carried them both in my pockets everywhere I went as sort of good luck charms. Eventually, I introduced him to my grandmother, and she loved him. He somehow convinced her to donate all the clothing, trinkets, and blankets she'd been hoarding, and in doing so, I was actually inspired to donate some of my old clothes that had become entirely too small for me since I'd gained weight. It was hard to do so at first, as I'd been telling myself that I would get skinny again in order to wear them, but since he had taught me to love my body the way it was, in the end, it felt good to let go. This soon led to us volunteering at homeless shelters, orphanages, LGBTQIA+ centers, and domestic violence shelters. Helping all those poor people really lifted my spirits and made me find value in myself that I thought was long gone. It truly felt good to help people in need. He would also take me on the most wonderful adventures. We'd go to see Christmas lights in the surrounding towns, or ice skating, or watching the snow fall in the mountains. It was on one of these dates that I realized that I was falling in love with him. I didn't have to tell him first, however. In the twilight of a snowy Christmas Eve, in front of the tree in his living room, he told me that he loved me. I want to take care of you, he said, holding my hands in his own. I want you to live with me. I want us to love each other endlessly. I want us to have a happily ever after. I want us to wake up in each other's arms every morning and go to sleep holding one another every night. I want us to spend every holiday together. Forever. Are you sure? I'm the gay Grinch, after all. You were simply covered in rigid ice, but I melted all that away and showed the world just how beautiful you are, inside and out. Now, let me keep you, please. Grateful tears filled my eyes as I nodded enthusiastically. I want to keep you too. By this time, his love had healed me so much that I was actually excited to spend Christmas Day with him. I'd already ordered him a ton of gifts after all, and judging from the beautifully wrapped presents under his tree, I was certain he had a lot more for me. But he said he had to work. Confusedly, I shook my head, sitting on the couch next to him, but the mall is closed. He let out a sigh of defeat. Noel, I have a second job. It's still seasonal, technically, but it is only one day a year, he explained, flashing his wintry eyes to the grandfather clock in the corner. Seeing that it was almost 8 p.m., he turned back to me. I have to go to work soon, but if you are brave enough, I'd like to take you with me. I furrowed my brows. Studying him, I cocked my head to the side. Please tell me you aren't about to say that you're the real Santa Claus. Blinking, he arched his brows. Tilting his head, he gazed into my eyes and slowly blinked. Yet he did not speak. I chortled and turned away from him. Is this some kind of joke? I demanded, standing up. Was all of this some game you were playing with me? I then shot him a bitter glare. Did my coworkers put you up to this? What? No! He shouted, standing up. Noelle, please, listen to me. Tears were already streaming down my face. My anxiety was spiraling within my mind, convincing me of my worst fears. No! Suddenly, he dove into me and embraced me lovingly. Softly crying, he began to whisper into my ear as he rested his tired head on my shoulder. Please, my love, just let me show you. Let me show you the magic. Gulping, I watched as he backed away from me. Keeping my eyes locked onto his, I waited patiently. All right, fine, I hissed through clenched teeth. Go ahead. I was giving him one last chance, but honestly, I truly believed that my coworkers were going to jump up from behind the furniture, laughing and making fun of me, as they usually did. Nick took a deep breath, raised his head upward, and closed his eyes. In that moment, golden glittering auras appeared, slowly encircling him. Through this, his clothes transformed back into a Santa suit, and his ears grew into points. Through those ribbons of ethereal magic, a large sack appeared within the grip of his right hand, and when he opened it, I saw that it held countless wrapped Christmas presents. In another flash, an impossibly long and glowing scroll magically coalesced into his left hand, beautiful calligraphy of two seemingly endless lists, one labeled naughty, the other nice, showing countless children's names within them. Slowly shaking my head, I flashed my eyes from the scroll to the sack and finally back to him. Nicholas. Saint Nicholas? I asked, questioning my own sanity. You really are Santa Claus? How? What do you mean? He asked, lowering the list to his side. I scoffed. How is it possible? Are flying reindeer and toy-making elves real too? How the hell do you fly around the world in one night? He chuckled. Raising a single brow, he smirked as if the answer were obvious. Magic? He replied, holding up and shaking both the sack of presents and the naughty and nice list. That made me feel kind of stupid. Letting out a grunt of aggravation, I closed my eyes and placed my hand to my forehead. I was developing a headache. So you're Santa Claus, and you just invited me to come to work with you, I said, trying my best to understand. I shot a confused glance back over to him. Does that mean you want to take me flying on the sleigh? He arched his brows, nodding. He remained silent. Taking a deep breath, I stepped toward him. Quietly easing in, I passionately kissed him. Pulling away, I smirked. Can we fucking it first? I growled, trying to be seductive. Unfortunately, the answer was no, because he took his job seriously or whatever. Lame. But riding above the clouds beneath the stars, through rain and snow, was a dream come true. The reindeer were all very sweet and affectionate. I could feel the magic radiating all around me, filling me with joy and love for my fellow man, and I loved learning all about the children and the gifts that my enchanted lover had made for them. And when we delivered the very last presents, the day finally broke, and we set off back into the skies. Much to my surprise, however, he took me with him to the North Pole, where he lived in a beautiful castle. I was introduced to all his elven friends and was shown the workshop. And finally, he beckoned me into his beautiful bedchambers where we made sweet magical love for hours on end. So, he began looking over at me as we lied naked beneath the blankets. Have you decided yet? This struck me with confusion. Decided what? He chuckled. Whether or not to stay with me, he answered. I am willing to try long distance if it means I can keep you, but I would prefer to take care of you here. Make love to you every day, cook for you, make you toys. Tears of joy filled my eyes once again. Easing in closer to him, I kissed his forehead. At this point, I'm ruined, I said jokingly. After all this, there's no way I can go back to living in the normal world. I can't imagine my life without you and your magic. Of course I'm gonna stay here. His face lit up like that of a child's on Christmas morning. He wrapped his arms around me again and pulled me into him as he lied back down in the bed. And as I fell asleep in his meaty, tattooed arms, my head on his hairy pecs, I smiled. He had truly given me everything I wanted, everything I needed, everything I had ever dreamed of. At the time, I thought it would have been the best Christmas ever, but he always had a way of surprising me. Yes, I was proud to be connected to the holiday that my parents adored. I was proud to love Santa Claus. And finally have the fairy tale romance I had always wanted, of course. But I was even more proud to finally love humanity and myself once again.